SpaceX is about to use some robot chopsticks on its new Starship rocket. In the latest chapter of SpaceX's Starship Launch Tower Chronicle, the company has rolled a claw-like component to the pad and attached the device to the end of the tower's newly installed Starship Quick Disconnect arm. What exactly does this mean? Let's find out. In January of 2021, Elon Musk announced SpaceX's latest plan to increase the number of flights it can mount by drastically reducing turnaround time. A couple of months ago, as SpaceX's newest Starship prototype and first orbital-class vehicle started to come together, it became clear that the company was implementing a significant design change, starting with Ship 20 S20. Contrary to the 5 years of official Starship BFR ITS updates, in which the ship's second stage was expected to connect to pad ground system power, propellant, gases, communications through the booster, Starship S20's umbilical panel was instead conspicuously installed on the exterior of the ship's hull. Later on, in an interview and tweets, it became clear that the move away from long-standing ship-to-booster umbilical plans was part of CEO Elon Musk's latest crusade, moving parts and complexity from Starship and Super Heavy to the launch pad at any cost. As a result, rather than adding a little extra weight to Super Heavy and likely reducing total payload to orbit by 1% or 2% for an extremely simple, protecting umbilical solution, SpaceX would instead have to implement a massive swinging arm that would reach out from the Starship's launch tower to connect to its pad systems. The key to this was the new launch tower that would catch first-stage boosters after they returned to Earth. This would forego the need to install landing legs in the future Super Heavy boosters and potentially future Starship returning to Earth. The technique could be an upgrade over the drone ships currently used for Falcon 9 boosters returning to Earth after missions. This could help the firm achieve its most ambitious targets, like launching the same Starship 3 times per day. That in turn means it has a chance achieving its goal of a city on Mars by 2050. SpaceX will try to catch the largest ever flying object with robot chopsticks, Musk posted on his Twitter page on August 30th. Success is not guaranteed, but excitement is. Musk shared this idea in response to a tweet made by an animator who goes by the Twitter handle ERCX, who asked if his latest render of a Starship landing next to its launch tower was accurate. As usual, Musk responded via Twitter saying, "We're going to try to catch the Super Heavy booster with the launch tower arm, using the grid fins to take the load. Saves mass and cost of legs and enables immediate repositioning of the booster onto launch mount, ready to refly in under an hour." The ground crews at SpaceX's South Texas launch facility near Boca Chica recently finished stacking the 9 sections of bolted steel that make up the tower, which now stands about 140 meters or 440 feet tall. With this phase complete, the team can now undergo the process of outfitting the tower with large actuator arms, hydraulic systems, fuel lines, and other components that will convert it into what Musk has affectionately nicknamed Mechazilla. This was likely a reference to the character Mechazilla from the Godzilla movie franchise, a robotic version of Godzilla that squares off with the original in the 1974 film Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. The moment Musk announced this new tower, people in the space community have been speculating what it might look like. The first to oblige him was a 3D designer, YouTube handles Mini3D, who created an animation based on Musk's description the very next day. The latest comes again from ERCX, who used the completed tower as the starting point for his latest animation. The animation is captioned Mechazilla less than 1 hour turnaround and shows a fully operational tower catching a spent Super Heavy booster, which has just returned from deploying a Starship to orbit and transferring it to the launch stand. The actuator arms then turn to grab onto another Starship and stack it onto the top of the Super Heavy. We also see a secondary arm move into place once the Starship and Super Heavy are stacked. Musk let ERCX know how close he was to capture the tower. Pretty close. Boosters and arms will move faster. QD arm will be a steady booster for shipmates, he tweeted. He also added that the ship will be caught by Mechazilla too. As with the booster, no landing legs. Those are only needed for the Moon and Mars until there is a local infrastructure. So Musk is promising a turnaround time of less than 1 hour now, and has confirmed that future Starships will be retrievable using the same apparatus and others like it. This latter scenario is likely to occur if and when Starships begin taking passengers on point-to-point flights between major cities, a service that Musk had promised will be available once the Starship is cleared for commercial flights. It's one of the most ambitious features of a spaceflight project already breaking new ground. The Starship is a fully reusable rocket capable of sending over 100 tons or 100 people into space at a time. The ship is designed to support all SpaceX's current missions while also paving the way for more ambitious plans like a base on the Moon or a city on Mars. The underdeveloped vessel could become the tallest 394 feet and most powerful rocket with 16 million pounds of liftoff thrust ever to fly. While it's already set to be an impressive visual sight, Mechazilla could make the scene look even more outstanding. In the same thread, Musk was asked if such a structure would ever be built on Mars and if Super Heavy boosters might be built there for missions to the outer solar system. Yes, on both counts. That would be a great outcome for civilization, replied Musk. ERCX posted several other animations of what Mechazilla retrieval would look like as well, which you can see by checking out his Twitter feed. SpaceX Mechazilla. What does it do? Launch towers for rockets are nothing new. NASA explains that the fixed service structure at the Kennedy Space Center's Launch Pad 39A, used for rockets like the SpaceX Falcon 9 and NASA Space Shuttle, measures around 347 feet from the ground to the top of the lightning mast. It features 3 swing arms for access to a shuttle placed on the pad. It's ideal for emergency exits for astronauts. But SpaceX is thinking bigger with the Mechazilla. In December 2020, Musk claimed that the firm planned to use the launch tower's arms to catch the Super Heavy booster as it returns to Earth. While it's hard to say if that decision and major design changes it entailed will prove to be the right move, what is undeniable is how rapidly SpaceX turned on a dime to build and install the extremely complex mechanisms required. Assembly of what has come to be known as Starship's Tower Quick Disconnect or QD arm only began in early July. Less than 2 months later, the finished base of that arm was lifted around halfway up to the 145-meter or 475-foot tall launch tower and affixed to 2 sturdy hinges. 3 weeks later, a new and initially mysterious structure SpaceX began assembling around August 20th has also been finished and installed at the end of the QD arm, adding an actuating tip and apparent stabilization claw to the already massive swinging structure. Aside from a bit of plumbing and wiring, the only thing that the arm now appears to be missing is the actual quick disconnect umbilical panel that will allow it to temporarily connect to Starship to deliver power, propellant, and connectivity. That quick disconnect mechanism will likely sit directly on top of the brand new claw and stand several meters tall and span the gap between the top of the Super Heavy and Starship's umbilical panel. 2 large actuating arms at the bottom of the arm's tips will be able to grab Super Heavy, stabilizing the massive boosters during the Starship installation. Once firmly installed on top of the booster, the claw's missing quick disconnect mechanism will then move in to connect to Starship. Of course, the quick disconnect arm is just one of the most minor of the 3 massive Mechazilla arms destined for the launch tower. Just a few hundred feet to the west, SpaceX is hard at work fabricating and assembling 2 far larger towers catch arms and the cradle-like frame they will eventually attach to. While they also give SpaceX far more flexibility to stack and manipulate Super Heavy and Starship in high winds and less than optimal weather conditions, the ultimate purpose of those arms is to catch Super Heavy's boosters and maybe one day Starships. According to a new contributor to NASA spaceflight forums, those Mechazilla catch arms could be installed as soon as possible. SpaceX completed what appears to be the first part of a structure designed to capture the Falcon Heavy rocket that will launch the Starship when it returns from space missions in the future. The company of Elon Musk always used the discourse that both artifacts could be reused, generating cost savings in the production of new units. If the tower can catch the rocket and move it back into the position onto the launch pad, that could help SpaceX reuse rockets faster than ever. The fastest turnaround time for a Falcon 9 booster from the previous flight to reflight is 27 days. In March 2020, Musk said that he wanted Starship to be able to fly 3 times per day. If Musk wants to build a city on Mars by 2050, he might come to depend on that rapid turnaround time. In 2019, he estimated that the city would require around 1 million tons of cargo to reach self-sufficient status. If each ship carries 100 tons, that means SpaceX will need to make 10,000 flights over the next 30 years, or around 333 per year. Now that you've watched the video, what do you think about SpaceX's latest innovation? Let us know by leaving a comment in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.